This comes from Time Magazine. This is Time. This is a mainstream publication condemning people who are making a living off of DLive. Here's the, and I just want to touch on this real quick because this is super important. This is the mainstream alligator in the swamp. Let's call it a T-Rex. It's a dinosaur. If you were sitting in an ocean, Time Magazine compared to a lowly YouTuber would be the behemoth in the sea, the blue whale. How far right personalities and conspiracy theorists are cashing in on the pandemic online. They can't even get past the title without casting an ad hominem. Automatically calling somebody a conspiracy theorist, trying to discredit them right off the bat. Oh yeah, prove that the person or the people that you're going to talk to me about are conspiracy theorists worthy of me shunning them because you said so. Prove that to me, Vera. Her name's Vera, who wrote this article. I'm not going to read this whole thing, but this is interesting. On the evening of On the evening of February 6th, as U.S. news networks reported the death of a doctor in Wuhan, China, who had warned of a deadly new virus, thousands of Americans were tuning in to a different kind of show. The good news is, I heard actually that you can't get this if you're white. Nick Fuentes, a far-right political commentator, told viewers on his America First channel on the streaming platform DLive. That's the DLive you're listening to right now. You're only really susceptible to the virus if you're Asian, Fuentes continued. I think we'll be okay. Does he have the right to have that opinion? Of course. He has the right to have the opinion, just like Don Lemon of CNN has the right to have the opinion that he thinks the biggest terrorist threat on American soil is white men radicalized to the right. Don Lemon said that. He can have this, but are you going to just completely ask your audience to dismiss Don Lemon because you want them to believe right off the bat that Don Lemon is a conspiracy theorist? That is an ad hominem. It's a broad brush ad hominem for most white people in America, white men radicalized, like Don Lemon said, Donald Lemon says, radicalized to the right. Fuentes, 22, a prolific podcaster who on his shows has compared the Holocaust to a cookie baking operation, argued that the segregation of black Americans, quote, was better for them and that the First Amendment was, quote, not written for Muslims, is doing better than okay during the COVID-19, convid, let's just call it what it is, convid-19. The organized planned shutdown, partial shutdown of the U.S. economy in the second quarter, according to James Bullard from the St. Louis Federal Reserve. COVID-19 plandemic. He's part of a loose cohort of far-right provocateurs, white nationalists, and right-wing extremists who have built large, engaged audiences on lesser-known platforms like DLive after being banned from mainstream sites for spreading hate speech and conspiracy theories. You know what I see in this? I see absolute jealousy of the behemoth of the sea, jealous of the little guy in the boat that's getting more attention than they are, and it's true. You got people with laptops sitting at their kitchen tables getting more and more and more views as mainstream media, mainstream publications. You got the Wall Street Journal, you got Time Magazine, you got the Washington Compost Pile, the New York Slimes, the Huffington Paint Post. They're all tanking, guys. And as they tank, independent, let's just call it independent media. Because there are some people out there actually telling the truth, sitting at their kitchen tables with their laptops open, talking into a webcam like I'm doing right now. But let's just take Nick Fuentes. I don't care for Nick Fuentes, but I'm not going to right off the bat without studying what he's all about, call him a conspiracy theorist. But Time Magazine doesn't have a problem doing that in their very title, and they're not even going to go off to prove why he's a conspiracy theorist. What if he has something substantial to back up his claim that the Holocaust is nothing more, nothing less than a cookie baking operation? Check this out. Fuentes appears to have earned, the model can be lucrative, talking about DLive. Viewers pay to watch the live streams through subscriptions and donations. And if you've ever watched Nick Fuentes, right off the bat, he will get, 5 Ninja Guineas or whatever. He's got 50,000 lemons in his first, 12 minutes of being on the air. And he's also running a live stream, and he's running, some other platforms because he's giving them shout outs too. And Time Magazine can't stand this. The Wall Street Journal can't stand this. CNN definitely can't stand this. They want to wipe people like Nick Fuentes and Adam Green and Red Ice TV and people like me just off the face of the internet because they can't compete. They have billion-dollar budgets, and people like us are operating on shoestring budgets. And we have engaged audiences and engaging content. And we talk about the things that they're not allowed to talk about because they're controlled by the corporate media oligarchs. You need to read the teleprompter. See, even when they go off script like Don Lemon or Chris Cuomo or Jakey the Snake Tapper, or little Brian Stelter with Mark Dice's voice, they got to stay on the main narrative. They got to continue to push the agenda until they get a little bit more pushback from the government, or not from the government, but from the people, from the public. And then they just kind of massage it away a little bit. But then they're right back at their race baiting, like Simone Sanders or the Reverend Al Sharpton. Yeah, what's worse, being a conspiracy theorist or being a race baiter? And I don't know. Nick Fuentes may be a race baiter. I don't know. I don't know enough about him. But I'm not going to sit here and slander the guy because I'm all jealous because he gets more lemons than I. He has a more engaging audience. He has a bigger audience. So what? Work with what you got. And the platform allows the content creators to keep most of the revenue. Fuentes appears to have earned more than $140,000 off his D-Live streams, cementing himself as the most viewed account on the platform, according to calculations provided to Time by a live streaming analyst who was granted anonymity because of their work tracking these accounts. Fuentes is hardly alone. 8 of the 10 top earners on D-Live this year, as ranked by Social Blade, a social media analytic website, are far-right commentators, white national extremists, or conspiracy theorists. See, they call somebody who just says, if you say, hey, leave white people alone, because you got to admit, there is this rabid outlook on white people, specifically white straight males in the American media, in the corporate media. They want to push you off to the side. Remember MTV and, the Golden Globes and the Oscars? They're always talking bad about white people, specifically white straight men. And we white straight men just sit here and just take it. It's like, it's no big deal. Whatever. It's like a cockroach walking down the street, giving you the bird. Okay, so what? You're on the concrete. It's sunlight outside. What are you doing outside? You're going to burn in the sun. It makes no difference to me. But you got them out there. If you just champion the cause of, hey, don't be ashamed of being white. Don't be ashamed of being straight. Just be who you are. Don't be ashamed of being a man, a male, doing male things. But they call that toxic masculinity. You never hear CNN talk about toxic liberalism. You never hear them talk about far left extremism. Why is that? Oh, that's right, because they have an agenda. Oh, that's right, because they're not there to promote the truth. They're not there to just report the news. They're there to push an agenda. And they can't stand it when people sitting at their kitchen table like Nick Fuentes or whoever are getting more airtime, getting a larger audience, getting more engagement, maybe making more money. I don't know. Maybe advertisers are jumping ship from Time Magazine and going over to Nick Fuentes. I don't know. The social disruption and economic dislocation caused by the virus, as well as the nationwide protests and civil unrest that followed the death of George Floyd in late May, has helped fuel this growing shadowy alt-tech industry. Shadowy. It's not shadowy if you can get on the internet and it pops up. Does that mean CNN is shadowy? CNN is on. You gotta type in CNN on YouTube. Is CNN shadowy because they're on the internet, or because they have a web page? Just because you're on D-Live doesn't make you shadowy. Are you shadowy because you're on BitChute and you're not on YouTube? Shadowy alt-tech industry. As public spaces shut down in March, millions of Americans logged online. The live streaming sector soared 45% from March to April, according to a study by software sites. As people became more socially isolated, many increasingly turned to pundits peddling misinformation. Oh, you mean like, I don't know, ABC, CBS? Is MSNBC still employing Lion Brian Williams? The guy who lied to Millions and millions of people for a decade saying an RPG hit his military helicopter. Years later, those guys said, hey, I was on that helicopter. That never happened. He got called out, and it became such a crap show, for lack of a better word, that even Matt Lauer, sexual predator Matt Lauer, sat down to do an interview with Lion Brian Williams, where Lion Brian Williams was lying to sexual predator Matt Lauer. A couple weeks or a couple months later, Matt Lauer gets canned because they find out, yes, indeed, he was a sexual predator. They take Lion Brian Williams' main spot away for the nightly news, give it to Lester Holt. I mean, Plastic Man. Play-Doh Man. I mean, these guys lie 24 hours a day, 7 days a week when they're standing from that teleprompter. There's no conscience in them. And then they keep Lion Brian Williams on the MSLSD, MSDNC payroll. So if you want to talk about peddling misinformation with misinformation specialists like Lion Brian Williams, you don't have to go any further than MSLSD. Conspiracy theories and hate speech. Yeah, it's a conspiracy theory because you ask questions. This is how you disconnect the wiring in a human being's mind. I don't care what country you live in. When they start trying to discredit somebody by calling them a conspiracy theorist, they're only proving, and I'm talking about the mainstream media right here, the mainstream media oligarchs are only proving they don't have an argument against these conspiracy theorists. And for the most part, they really don't. Oh, that was debunked. Really, can you show me your research? Can you give me source materials? Oh, no, there are none. Just take our word for it. That's Don Lemon. He wouldn't be sitting behind that desk of CNN if he wasn't legitimate. It's obvious. I mean, look at Google. They claim that CNN and MSNBC and ABC and CBS are top shelf authoritative sources. So obviously, if Google calls them an authoritative source, you can't question it. And if you do, well, guess what, boy? You a conspiracy theorist. You from the backwoods there in the hills of Oklahoma, you don't know nothing. If you ain't sitting in New York in some studio in Rockefeller Plaza reading a teleprompter from the corporate media oligarchs that come through the AP, you're a conspiracy theorist. That's what they want you to believe. And hate speech. Oh yeah, you're engaging in hate speech when you defend the white race, the white straight male, specifically that demographic. And even as mainstream platforms crack down on far-right propagandists, online audiences grew. And oh boy, they hate that. They hate the fact that your online audience grew, but theirs didn't. Theirs deteriorated. Over the past 5 months, more than 50 popular accounts reviewed by Time on sites like DLive have multiplied their viewership and ranked in tens of thousands of dollars in online currency by insisting COVID-19 is fake or exaggerated, encouraging followers to resist lockdown orders and broadcasting racist tropes. Racist tropes. I love that. During the nationwide protest over police brutality. Let's just talk about this word right here, exaggerated. Never mind that Dr. Ezike from the Illinois COVID-19 task force says that if somebody died from a clear alternate cause, you can still include them in the COVID-19 case. The Johns Hopkins fear porn death map case. Oh, by the way, Johns Hopkins was there at Event 201 with the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation on August 16th, 2019, 6 weeks before the Wuhan virus made its appearance. But you're a conspiracy theorist for bringing that out, because if Don Lemon didn't deal with it, if little Brian Stelter didn't deal with it, if Sean Hannity didn't deal with it on Faux News, then it must be a conspiracy, because if it wasn't a conspiracy, they would have dealt with it. Talk about the 1984 dystopian reality that we're living in. Many of the users, including Fuentes, had been banned by major social media platforms like YouTube for violating policies prohibiting hate speech. Actually, you know what they're prohibiting? They're prohibiting free speech. There's no such thing as hate speech. There's either speech or no speech. There is no hate speech. There might be speech you disagree with, but if you try to label it hate speech and try to get somebody censored because of it, all you're doing is introducing a vile cancer to society. You're a book burner, and those who burn books today will be burning bodies tomorrow. That's what history tells us. But we got this innate problem. We don't learn from history. And those who don't learn from history are what? Yeah, doomed to repeat it. But this so-called deplatforming merely pushed them to migrate to less regulated portals. They hate less regulated portals. They want regulation. Time Magazine is sitting here going, we want censorship. We want to be able to compete in the marketplace, and we just can't compete in the marketplace when all these people have all these laptops on their kitchen tables and they have shoestring budgets and they're beating us out with larger audiences, larger engaged audiences who give them genuine positive feedback. We want that portal to be regulated. What are they calling for? Censorship. What are they really calling for? Book burning, digital book burning. What are they going to be calling for tomorrow? Your body to be burned. Because if they want to silence your voice today, they want to put an end to your life tomorrow. That's what history tells us. Where some of them have attracted bigger audiences and gamed algorithms to make even more money. This really eats them up. This is really eating the behemoth of the sea up. He can't stand that the guy in the boat is beating him out in views. In addition, clips of their broadcasts on less traffic sites still frequently make it to YouTube. Oh no, the free market at work, Twitter, and other mainstream platforms essentially serving as free advertising for their streams elsewhere, experts say. Experts. When are these people gonna wake up and realize, hey, we are on the wrong side of this thing? We are literally calling for the silencing of our fellow human beings because we're getting beat out, even in dishonesty, guys. The deck is stacked against people like me. The deck is stacked against people like Red Ice TV. They're the ones getting deplatformed. We're the ones getting demonetized. We're the ones getting kicked off, and we got to find alternate sites, and we got to constantly start over. I just had to start over again, guys. I had a channel with 378,000 subscribers, a channel with 560,000 subscribers. Now I got to start another YouTube video. I'm constantly starting over, but it's not just me. It's not, whoa, is Brian, sing me a little song. You're just so pathetic, little Brian. What I'm trying to demonstrate to you is the playing field is not even. It's not level. It's not fair. And yet, in spite of the unfairness, in spite of the advantage that they have, in spite of the clout that they're supposed to have and the billions of dollars they have in their pocket and the big corporate interests and the advertisers, they're still losing. What if the playing field was even? They have to be dishonest to even come close to the finish line, and they still lose. That's how bad it is for them. This is why they write hit pieces like this. It's completely disingenuous. This does not come from a heart of real journalism. This Vera lady, what's her name? Vera Bergengruen. Written August 20th for Time Magazine. Time Magazine. She has no interest in ferreting out the truth. What is really going on here with Nick Fuentes? Did you interview him? Did you ask what it means to be a white nationalist? Did you ask him if he's really prejudiced? Does he think he's superior? He may, I don't know. But even if he does, he shouldn't be shunned. You should bring all that stuff into the light. The free market will deal with it. I'd rather have dangerous freedom than peaceful slavery. If you want peaceful slavery, what you're asking for is for censorship to come on somebody tomorrow, so you better not be complaining about it. I was going to use the B word, but I was like, why even use that? Then you better not complain tomorrow when somebody requests and demands and forces you into silence. It's like that, let's see, what's that thing that's, they came for the something and I didn't speak up. And then they came for the Christians and I didn't speak up. They came for the something and I didn't speak up. And then they came for me and there was nobody around to speak up. That's true. That's what happens. In addition, clips of their broadcasts on less traffic sites still frequently make it to YouTube. I already read that. Facebook, Twitter. Okay. As social media giants like YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook target hate speech. Actually, nope, they're not targeting hate speech. They're targeting free speech. They're targeting free speech. If you say something critical about a protected class, you are called a hate monger. You are called a white nationalist. You are called prejudice and white supremacist. And if you're a black person who says it, they'll even go so far as to call you, and you've seen this on mainstream media, an Uncle Tom. Because it's not about you being a white supremacist. It's not about you engaging in hate speech. It's about them not being able to compete with or argue with or take down your argument or have a constructive criticism that's rational and logical to lob back into your court. That's what it's about. See, truth fears no scrutiny. And if you have your eyes dead set on the truth and you happen to be in error, you will let go of that which is an error and you will grab onto the truth because that's what you really want. If you want to call truth an agenda, there you go. The only agenda we should have is what is the truth? What is objective? What criteria gives me the most amount of evidence so I can put my stake in that ground right there? That's the hill I want to die on. You can be in truth and still be wrong about stuff. That's why I hate the infighting in the truth movement. Why aren't you doing gematria? Why aren't you talking about flat earth? You should just abandon everything and just talk about gematria. Well, why don't you do that? I mean, it's interesting. I don't know a whole lot about it. It's really interesting, but it seems like, there's manipulation involved. Maybe I'm wrong. Yeah, I'll watch some videos. Looks interesting. I've dealt with some gematria stuff. It's fascinating to me. Probably not going to be my specialty. It's probably not what I'm going to, talk about every night. But people just they just want to condemn. There's no reason to condemn somebody just because they're not doing what you're doing. The question is, are we seeking after truth? Are we doing to others what we would want done to us? Social media giants like YouTube, Twitter, Facebook target hate speech and misinformation. Sites like DLive seem to be turning a blind eye. Former users, they're calling turning a blind eye just letting free speech happen. That's what they're calling turning a blind eye. Turning a blind eye. Former users, employees say recognizing that much of their traffic and revenue comes from these accounts, quote, they care more about having good numbers than weeding these people out. Weeding these people out? Weeding these people out. A former employee of DLive who is granted anonymity because he still works on the live streaming sector tells Time. DLive did not respond to multiple requests for comment. DLive, don't back off of free speech. Don't do it. Don't be a weak-kneed, yellow-bellied sapsucker. Weak-kneed, yellow-bellied sapsuckers are commonplace. It's cowardice to give in to the outrage mob. It's cowardice to delete somebody because you say they're engaging in hate speech when, let's just face it, it's speech you're just not agreeing with. There's a lot of speech on DLive that I don't agree with. What's the remedy? Then you as an individual just don't watch them anymore. What if 10,000 people wanted to watch the person that I didn't want to watch? What does that make me to say, I don't want those 10,000, I don't want to listen to this, and I don't want those 10,000 people to listen to it? Not only am I trying to cut out somebody's tongue and silence them, I'm trying to cut off the ears of everybody who wants to listen to the person that I want to silence. What does that make me? It makes me a little mini tyrant. Who do I think I am? It's just like YouTube. When YouTube comes up and he goes, oh, High Impact Vlogs has 378,000 people and 378,000 people hit the subscribe button. 60% of those hit the bell notification icon so that they can be notified every time there's a new upload. Well, you know what we're going to do? We don't care what those people say. We don't care what the 378,000 subscribers say, and we don't care what that 60%, the 175, 179,000 want to be notified. We're not notifying them, and we're going to take away some of these subscriptions. Oh, by the way, we're just going to terminate that channel altogether. So it's not that a Stefan Molyneux or a David Icke or a Nick Fuentes or an Alex Jones or Red Ice TV got kicked off of a platform. It's not just that they got silenced. It's that the millions and millions and millions of people who wanted to be those people's audience got flicked off and given the bird by YouTube and Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and everybody who wants to silence hate speech, which is really silencing free speech. What they're really saying is, without saying it, they're not okay with this, but they're saying they're okay with this. They're saying, yeah, I'm going to silence you, and I don't mind if in the future we get silenced ourselves. How would they like to be canceled? How would they like their income to be taken to zero where they can't support their family? They wouldn't. They wouldn't. If they're honest with themselves, they would say, no, I wouldn't want that. Okay, then don't do that to others. Which means ordinary users are gaming the streaming platforms. Let's see. Many of these far-right personalities allege they are being unfairly censored for conservative political commentary or provocative humor, not hate speech. That's just true. It's just true. Most of these viewers won't respond to streamers' often cartoonish calls to action like the Film Your Hospital movement in April, meant to show that no patients were there, thus proving that COVID-19 was fake. But this murky ecosystem of casual viewers, right-wing trolls, and occasional diehard acolyte creates a real challenge for technology companies and law enforcement agencies. What are you talking about? A real challenge? Keep everybody on the platform. You know, I had this one guy who kept trolling me on my High Impact Flicks channel, my main channel. And he would say the most disgusting, sexually explicit things about what he would do to little girls and little boys, little kids. And I never have censored any comment. And it's so funny. People will say, yeah, Brian's constantly censoring. He's always deleting my comments. I've never deleted one comment since I've been on the internet. Not one. Not even that guy's. That guy sticks out in my mind because the things that he was saying was disgusting. You know what I figured? You know what? Leave this guy in the light. Don't shove him off into the darkness. Let him keep on saying what he's saying. Because if he's a pedophile, I want that guy caught. And the best way to catch him is not to push him further into the shadows. It's to, hey, sunlight is the greatest disinfectant. And yeah, it may have been disgusting. And a lot of people are going, why aren't you getting this guy off? I don't want to read this. Okay, then don't read it. Don't read it. I'm not going to censor him, though. Let it happen. Let truth roam free. See, truth is like a lion. You don't have to defend it. Just let it out of its cage. It'll defend itself. Truth doesn't need you. It'd be nice if you were on board with truth, but it doesn't need you. You need truth. And one of the best ways I can see to get a pedophile is let him keep running his mouth. Let him keep posting his nonsense. You want to catch somebody? Just let him keep going. Let them hang themselves. Let them construct the gallows, walk up to the steps, put that rope around their neck, and just pull the lever. That's the way I look at it. That's why I love freedom. And I hate censorship. Because you know what censorship really does? It drives evil people deeper underground so they can continue doing their evil. And one day it's going to come out of the ground. It's just going to explode. Remember what they did during the Prohibition? This is kind of an example. It's not a perfect example, but it's kind of an example. From 1920 to 1933, they declared that owning alcohol, buying, selling, trading, transporting alcohol would be illegal. Therefore, anybody who had alcohol during those 13 years of Prohibition was seen as a criminal in the eyes of the state. Oh no, you weren't really a criminal. But the psychopaths, the oligarchs in government declared you to be a criminal because they were pressured into it. It was just a system of control. But what happened? The speakeasies sprung up. People were partying. People were drinking more than ever, but they were just doing it in faraway places. It didn't save the family like they pretended that it was going to do. People don't stop drinking because you make it illegal. People don't stop smoking and running drugs if you make it illegal. You know what it does? It gives rise to real criminals. Now, because it's pushed underground, now you got people illegally running. They're running alcohol. They're not really criminals. But now there becomes this competition between warring, you got Al Capone warring with the, whoever the other, the Gillespies or whatever. And now they're shooting at each other, and then innocent people get caught in the fray. Now real crimes start happening. It's not a crime to run moonshine, but then crime started materializing because people became constrained and pushed down by government. See, anytime you add government, and government, guys, the word government is just a euphemism for slavery, for control. Two Latin words, governo mentis, to control or govern, and the mind, to control the mind, mind control. Government is all about control. And when they try to exercise control, what happens? What springs forth from that? Anything good? No, darkness, evil, criminality. People start dying. That's what happens. People become, poverty rises. Crime rises. Prosperity decreases. Criminals are empowered. Anytime you add government, that's what happens. because the criminals in government are actually working for the criminals on the street. Because the criminals in government know the true criminals on the street don't obey laws, but the law abiders do. That's who they're trying to control. They know they can't control the real criminals. So when you obey the criminal cartel of government, you are now made a victim by the criminals on the street. That's why I hate gun-free zones. It's a criminal empowerment, victim creation, fish in a barrel slaughter zone. Because all the law abiders, because you were taught to be a law abider in 15,000 hour indoctrination program called Government Public Schools. All the law abiders, because it's moral and it's virtuous to obey the government. Oh my God, what you're doing is illegal. So what? Just because some guy declared if I own a bag of weed or have a beer in 1920 or have alcohol in 1920 to 1933 that I'm somehow a criminal? There is no such thing as a criminal unless that individual has harmed or threatened harm or stolen from or destroyed somebody else's property with that property owner's consent. No victim, no crime. You're not a criminal because a parasitic psychopath in the halls of Congress declared you to be a criminal. Criminality isn't by edict, it's by action. If you have the actions of a criminal, guess what? You're a criminal. If it walks like a duck, ... you can fill in the rest.
Hey, you subscribed. Does it feel good?
But this murky ecosystem of casual viewers, right-wing trolls, and the occasional diehard acolyte creates a real challenge for technology companies and law enforcement agencies. BS, man. And it doesn't take, I'm just going to read a couple more paragraphs. Thanks for sticking with me. I hope you guys find this interesting because I find it fascinating that these guys can wrap themselves up in such a tight ball of hypocrisy and look down from their glass towers over their horn-rimmed glasses with their bony knuckles and point a finger at you and say, you're a criminal, you're engaging in hate speech, you're a white supremacist, you need to be kicked off the platform, you need to be erased from Earth. It's amazing, man. And it doesn't take much to trigger a tragedy. Over the past 2 years, terrorists inspired by online right-wing propaganda have live-streamed their own deadly attacks in New Zealand and Germany. Let freedom ring. Catch the guy. If he's doing something wrong, catch him. In March 2019, a Florida man who had been radicalized by the far-right media online conspiracy theorists pleaded guilty to sending more than a dozen pipe bombs to prominent critics of President Donald Trump. A month later, a gunman armed with an AR-15 shot 4 people, killed one in a synagogue in Poway, California, after allegedly posting a racist and anti-Semitic creed on the site 8chan. About 3 months later, a man killed 23 people at a Walmart in El Paso, Texas, after posting a racist manifesto online, according to authorities. So because he posted a racist manifesto, we need to shut down other people on the internet. That makes no sense. Let him post their racist manifesto and then catch him. If they have criminal intent, if they're threatening to go shoot up a church, you can nab them. But if you take these people off, they're just going to seethe inside. You're going to take away their criminality by refusing them access, denying them access to the internet. With COVID-19 continuing to surge in parts of the country, ongoing protests over racial injustice, in the upcoming 2020 presidential election, the next few months promise to offer fertile ground for bad actors and unmoderated virtual spaces. What are they saying? You're a bad person and we need to moderate, we need to regulate, we need to censor you. Far-right propagandists are really capitalizing on this conspiratorial moment, says Brian Friedberg. Wonder who he's with. Friedberg. He wouldn't happen to be with the SPLC, would he? He wouldn't happen to be with the ADL, would he? He's not in connection with them, is he? Everyone's locked inside while there's what they refer to as a race war happening outside their windows that they are reporting on, so this is prime content for white nationalist spaces. The migration of far-right personalities to DLive illustrates how, despite mainstream platforms, recent crackdowns and incentives that govern this ecosystem are thriving. Anyone with an internet connection can continue to leverage conspiracy theories, racism, and misogyny for attention and money. Experts say, there you go. Bingo. Time Magazine is jealous. CNN is jealous. NBC, ABC, always broadcasting crap, jealous. They're continuing to leverage conspiracy theories, and we can't stand it. They're outdoing us. They're outdoing our misinformation to the point where they're actually stealing our audiences and our numbers are going down. Okay, now we're suffering. We got to do something to eliminate our competition. And that's what governments do. Guys, when you say mainstream media, when I say mainstream media, when you say corporate media, you're really saying government. They are two peas in a pod. They are together on this thing. They are corporately controlled and moderated government agencies infiltrated by the CIA, and that was proven back in the 1970s, early 1970s. I've shown this many, many times. The CIA infiltrated media and newsprint to get out their own stories, to change public perception. When a corporate media site is saying this about independent journalists or independent media, this is the government doing this. And what is the government in the business of? Eliminating competition. They want to be the only, not just the big kids on the block, they want to be the only kids on the block. This is Big Brother. This is Big Brother speaking through this Time magazine. I don't know, it's not reporter, woman, individual. The outbreak of COVID-19 arrived during a period of reinvention for far-right propagandists in the aftermath of the white nationalists Unite the Right rally in Charlottesville, Virginia in 2017. Oh, we're just supposed to take your word for it? Over the past 3 years, social media giants, which had endured criticism for having extremist safe harbor, have increasingly attempted to mitigate hate speech on their sites. Again, that's free speech. Hate speech is a euphemism for free speech. They really want to eliminate free speech while they say they hail and champion the cause of free speech. Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter, as well as payment processors like PayPal and GoFundMe, have all shut down accounts run by far-right agitators, neo-Nazis, and white supremacists. That's so easy for them to do, isn't it? Just deplatform, deperson somebody. They're literally depersoning people. If you can't have a payment processor so that you can make money, so you can generate an income for your family, what are they trying to do? They're trying to starve you to death. They're not just trying to censor you. They're not just trying to censor you or ruin your life. They're trying to end your life. This is malicious, guys. This is evil. And they're doing it in the name of, let's keep our platform safe. Isn't it? How much evil comes into the world under the guise of, let's keep people safe? That's where people start giving up their liberties. Well, Google just wants to keep me safe. YouTube just wants to keep me safe from that bad man sitting behind that desk at Red Ice TV. He want to keep me safe from Henrik and Lana. Henrik and Lana want to hurt me because they're white supremacists, they're white nationalists, and Google's over there trying to keep us safe from people like Stefan Molyneux and David Icke. He could really hurt me. So we need those voices silenced. That's how the sheeple think, man. It's like, good riddance to David Icke. I don't believe in reptile people anyway. How about all the other good stuff that David Icke says? How about all the other exposures that David Icke says? You know, even Alex Jones. I don't want anybody censored off the platform. Why? Because truth fears no scrutiny. But these guys hate truth. Therefore, they have to eliminate their competition because they don't really have good things to say. Because they're not interested in truth. They're interested in promoting their agenda. And the last thing they want to be able to tolerate or have to tolerate is somebody who's going to question their dishonest agenda, their evil narrative. Man, these people are exposing themselves like crazy. Time magazine is exposing themselves in this article. In late June, YouTube removed the accounts of several well-known figures, including David Duke, a former leader of the Ku Klux Klan, and Richard Spencer, a prominent white nationalist, who, by the way, didn't Richard Spencer just endorse Joe Biden for the presidency? Are any leftists going to say anything about that? Because you know they were all over him when David Duke said something positive about Trump. But no, it doesn't work like that because it's part of the left versus right dog and pony show, and there's certain things on the left that you don't do, certain things that you can do, and there's certain things, the arrangements that need to be made and narratives that need to be promoted on the right side too. We have to keep this cohesive balance of keeping people in a constant state of confusion, distracting, deceiving, and dividing them while the bankers just make out like bandits, man. Oh yeah, we are going to crash the dollar. This is going to be a great Christmas this year. Crash the dollar, bring in the one world digital dollar, the new world order reserve currency. Reddit, Facebook, and Amazon-owned streaming site Twitch also suspended dozens of users and forums for violating hate speech guidelines. You know, when I see that kind of stuff, it just makes me sick because there are people out there suffering right now because of these mass demonetizations, these mass deplatformings, these mass censorships, these digital book burnings. But these purges hardly solve the problem. Many online extremists were on mainstream platforms like YouTube long enough to build a devoted audience willing to follow them to new corners of the internet. So they're going to pursue us, guys. They want to pursue us. Maybe I will go through a lot of this article. Is everybody good? Is everybody good with continuing on? Because the more I read on this, the more that another nail goes into the gallows that they're building for themselves. The more we go through this, the more they expose themselves. Amazing, man. YouTube, they've been on YouTube long enough to build a devoted audience willing to follow them to new corners of the internet, and they just can't have that. They just can't have that. All right, cool. I'll keep going. Some had long prepared for a crackdown by setting up copycat accounts across different platforms like Twitch, DLive, or TikTok. You know, they're going to crack down on these alternate channels and sites that we've got. You know they are. You know DLive is getting constant daily pressure from people saying, get rid of Nick Fuentes, get rid of Adam Green, get rid of High Impact Flicks, get rid of Marfugal News, get rid of all these people, Dabu7. These people build their brand on YouTube, and when they get demonetized or feel feel under threat, you got to be kidding me. You're not feeling under threat when 378,000 subscribers that you took 8 years to build vanishes like that. There's no feeling under threat. It's in your face threat. It's not even a threat. The action has already been made against you. These people build their brand on YouTube, and when they get demonetized or feel under threat, they'll set up backup channels on DLive or BitChute, says Megan Squire, a computer scientist at Elon University who tracks online extremism. They know it's going to happen and plan ahead. They're just pursuing, guys. They're in hot pursuit to just snuff out free speech. These people are evil. These people are literally the epitome of evil. While the suspensions by social media companies have been effective at limiting the reach of some well-known personalities like conspiracy theorist Alex Jones, who was banned from YouTube, Facebook, and Apple in 2018, others have quickly adapted. Yeah, because we have to. Content creators are incredibly adept at gaming the systems so that they can still find and cultivate audiences, says Becca Lewis, a researcher at Stanford University who studies far-right subcultures online, describing these efforts as game of whack-a-mole. But these same people will never do just a modicum, cursory research about how many times CNN, ABC, CBS, and even Faux News lied to you about weapons of mass destruction, which put our sons and daughters in the gristmills of war, cost trillions of dollars, and burdened us with transgenerational debt slavery. Never mind that mountain. We have to concentrate on the molehill of David Icke and Alex Jones, who were exposing, rightly so, exposing the weapons of mass destruction. Think about it. The people who brought you the weapons of mass destruction that began all the wars, killed our sons and daughters in foreign wars, burdened our sons and daughters, our progeny, with transgenerational debt slavery, those people right there are telling you you're a conspiracy theorist. It's like the murderer with the knife in his hand, still dripping with blood and 5 bodies on the ground, looking at you saying that you've done wrong because you didn't park your car correctly in the street. That's really what it's like.
Hey, you subscribed.
Blood's dripping. It's like, you double parked? Oh my God, silence that man who double parked. Blood dripping, dripping, dripping. People gurgling on their own blood in the background. That's literally what it's like. That's how ludicrous it is. You get these behemoths of corporate media. Think about the Gulf of Tonkin, guys. One lie from mainstream media back in the 60s and 70s. The Gulf of Tonkin, where some North Vietnamese U-boat or torpedo boat torpedoed the USS Maddox, supposedly. And this was the spark that started our massive engagement in Vietnam, our massive and costly and deadly engagement, to the point where 58 or 59,000 of our servicemen were summarily slaughtered on the rice fields of Vietnam. 1.2 to 3 million casualties. People died. Humanity suffered a great blow, not to mention the debt that it brought here in the United States.
Does it feel good?
Causing Nixon to close the gold window and decouple the fiat currency that we had from precious metals. That one lie, the Gulf of Tonkin resolution, that after it was all done and the declassified documents came out, that never happened. LBJ laughing about it, going, for all I know, they were shooting at whales out there in the Gulf of Tonkin. Just laughing about it, drinking their cognac, smoking their Black Dragon cigars with their feet up on the desk at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue in the Oval Office, just having a good laugh about it. But yeah, we're not going to talk about those mainstream media idiots, murderers. They saw to it that 58 or 59,000 servicemen died, 1.5 to 3 million people burned to death with this napalm. People trying to eat in their grass huts, they're just little, just little, right, they're working in the rice fields. They're getting slaughtered, but they're called insurgents because they're trying to defend their own land. How would you and I feel if Russian and Chinese forces came and were patrolling our streets? And while we were trying to eat dinner, they were dropping bombs outside. They would call us insurgents, but we would be justified in trying to protect our own property and the lives of our own family. So funny how we go to foreign lands and we rape and destroy and pillage and burn and murder. But somehow we're the good guys, proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. Man, this is just drunk on murder. Drunk on fiat currency. Content creators are incredibly adept at gaming the system. Game of whack-a-mole. White nationalist accounts have tied their ban to right-wing narrative that conservatives are being silenced by technology companies for platforms like DLive becoming what their users consider free speech, and uncensored alternatives can be lucrative. Quote, more speech also means more money for the platform, and less content moderation means less of an expense, says Lewis. Yeah, they can't stand that there's no moderation on some of these sites. They really want to put a stranglehold on BitChute. They really want to take DLive down and make them go in the ways of MySpace. They really want to bring the Susan Wojcicki censorship BS to other platforms. They want to run us off. The prospect of being pushed off mainstream social media, video streaming, and payment platforms has also prompted extremists. They're painting us as evil to become more sophisticated about the financial side of the business. While Twitch takes a 50% cut of live streamers' earnings and YouTube takes 45%, platforms like DLive allow content creators to keep 90%. That's not even true. It's 75% of what they make. And as many found themselves cut off from mainstream payment services like PayPal, GoFundMe, and Patreon, they began to embrace digital currencies. DLive was founded in December 2017 by a Chinese-born, DLive's first big coup came in April 2019 when it announced an exclusive streaming deal with Felix Kjellberg, that's PewDiePie, also known as PewDiePie. In just 2 months, DLive's total number of users grew by 67%. At the time, PewDiePie was the most popular individual creator on YouTube with more than 93 million subscribers and his own controversial history. In 2018, he came under fire for making anti-Semitic jokes and racist remarks. Guys, there is some bad stuff out there that says really bad things about people. And if you don't want to watch it, don't watch it. There's some comedians out there that make some really bad, nasty, filthy jokes that a lot of people just wouldn't like. What's the remedy? Don't you as an individual watch it. Don't you tune into it. But don't turn around and ask a third party to demand that that person be taken off the platform. I don't ever want to see Eddie Murphy dress up in whiteface again. I'm so offended about it. If you're offended about Eddie Murphy dressing up in whiteface and making fun of white people, which is freaking hilarious if you've ever seen it, he even calls himself Mr. White, then stop watching Eddie Murphy. It's amazing how fragile we've become as a society. And if you want to exacerbate that fragility, then continue on in censorship. If you want more yellow-bellied, weak-kneed sapsuckers to pervade society, continue on with your censorship nonsense. DLive's community guidelines theoretically prohibit hate speech that directly attacks a person or group on the basis of race, ethnicity, national origin, religion, disability, disease, age, sexual orientation, gender, or gender identity. That shouldn't even be banned, because that's banning free speech. Dangerous freedom over peaceful slavery. Either you want freedom or you don't. Either you want free speech or you don't. It's not both ways. You can't have both things. It's like, I want to jump in the swimming pool, but I don't want to get wet. Sorry, too bad. You jump in the pool, you're going to get wet. If you don't want to get wet, don't jump in the pool. I want to build a fire, but I don't want to take the chance that I might burn my finger. Then don't start the fire, because you might burn your finger. If you've ever had any dealings with fire, you've probably burned yourself somewhere along the lines. But I want that dangerous freedom over peaceful slavery, because the benefits, the rewards, the returns, the prosperity, the morality that can come from that dangerous freedom is exponentially more than any good that could ever possibly come from censorship. By the way, good doesn't usually come from censorship. It's usually followed by mass quantities of evil and the stifling not only of the speech of a person, but the actual existence of the person. They're not just trying to burn books, man. They're not just trying to get you pushed off the internet. They don't want you around on this earth at all. DLive's community guidelines theoretically prohibit these things, but it soon became apparent to both employees and users that executives were willing to ignore venomous content. You as an independent content creator could not possibly hold a candle to the venomous content that is put out every single day, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week by MSLSD, CBS, ABC, and Faux News. No way near. Because you're not going to be out there starting a frickin' war. You're not going to be out there costing nations trillions of dollars. You're not going to be out there empowering the criminals, the criminal cartel in Washington's District of Criminals. But they will be. You can't possibly lay enough cover as an independent, sit at your desk, laptop using, robe wearing content creator. You can't hold a candle to the evil and the mayhem and the chaos that is spread every single day by mainstream media outlets. Doesn't even come close. And yet these Jack the Rippers are looking at you. Jack the Ripper, who just slaughtered 47 women, is looking at you and condemning you for jaywalking. That's what it's like. That's how ridiculous this article is. Venomous content. You cannot get more venomous than weapons of mass destruction. You can't get more venomous than the Gulf of Tonkin. You can't get more venomous than saying that Building 7 just fell when it's still standing, but 20 minutes later it will fall, as you prophesied, BBC. Thanks, Jane Stanley, for telling us that the Solomon Brothers building has fallen 20 minutes before it fell. Thanks for letting us know that you had inside information. But they turn up, guys, this is in your face, standing there with the microphone, says, yeah, the Solomon Brothers building fell a couple minutes ago. Now that it's dramatically affected the New York skyline, while over her left shoulder, you can still see Building 7 standing in the background. But you're the conspiracy theorist for pointing that out? They want to discredit you when their reporting shows themselves to be liars? And that they obviously had inside information. Somebody obviously called the BBC and gave them too head of a start. They jumped the gun. You gotta be kidding me. But we're the conspiracy? Oh, that was debunked a long time. How do you debunk that? They said it fell, and she's standing in front of a screen that shows it's still up. How could you ever debunk that? You've got to be kidding me. But you're putting out venomous content. Geez, by early 2019, political shows were gaining traction on the site. Those programs devolved into streams dedicated to white pride. Oh, that's just so bad. We can have gay pride. We can have Black History Month. But these streams dedicated to They devolved into streams dedicated to white pride. What if in this sentence it said these programs devolved into streams dedicated to black pride? Oh, they would never say that, but it's okay to pick on white people. And you wonder why the Nick Fuenteses of the world go into their little corner and try to protect whiteness. Amazing, man. Amazing hypocrisy. Those programs devolved into streams dedicated to white pride and lots of anti-Semitism. Did you know you're anti-Semitic if you just question how come so many J words are in positions of power, like in the White House and heads of Hollywood, and own all the social media sites and the corporate media sites and our money supply and the military industrial complex, and but because you point that truth out, all of a sudden you're anti-Semitic. Gotcha. Check. Got it. Entire streams talking about how Jewish people are evil, says the former DLive employee who spoke to Time, adding that moderators acted much more quickly when it came to copyright concerns. Your streams would be taken down faster for streaming sports than saying you hate Jays. By the way, I'm not for anybody who goes just broad brush as a people group and go, yeah, because these people own all these things, I'm going to put everybody in that J category. That's why I don't say Jays. I say be specific. People who have an actual mentality, people who subscribe to a particular ideology, this hyper statist ideology called Zionism, where they think they have a higher claim over your life and property than you to such an extent that they have the blessing of God on their lives and they're blessed people. And they are the head and you are the tail, and that gives them the right to treat anybody any way they want to. That's an evil person. Those people that have that Zionist mentality are evil people, just like people who have this statist mentality of Donald Trump's going to fix our life. That's just an evil mentality, because by fixing our lives, he's throwing us into transgenerational debt slavery. He's given a nod and a wink to civil asset forfeiture. He's increasing the military-industrial complex. He's increasing He's decreasing freedom, increasing laws, restricting people, snuffing the light of free speech out on college campuses in the name of defeating anti-Semitism. And all that translates to is bodies piled high. When you remove freedom and you waste a person's resources and their money, and you tell them that their time and their laboring energies is worth nothing to the extent where they can hyperinflate the currency, you are literally going off to war. Bodies will be piled up. That's how this thing works. Because the tree of liberty must be refreshed from time to time with ... the blood of patriots and tyrants. That's just that's not just a cute little cliche rolling off the feathered pen of Thomas Jefferson. It's just a truism. The tree of liberty has to constantly be maintained and refreshed. And unfortunately, pretty much the only thing that makes it grow is blood. Man. The employee recalls raising the matter with the guy, I guess, who at that time owned DLive, noting how, it's a different guy now, noting how off-putting it was. Wait a second. This was only written a couple days ago. How off-putting it was for new users coming to watch a broadcast or streams of popular video games. According to the employee, Wayne explained that the company, quote, didn't want to get rid of these problematic streamers because they brought in numbers. He doesn't even need a reason. It's like, guess what? How about this? Not because it brings in numbers. How about just having this stance? You know what? This is a free frickin' speech platform. You don't like it? Don't watch it. If CNN doesn't like it, if Time Magazine doesn't like it, don't watch it. This is a free platform. Leave us alone. But your wife said, don't watch it. But you're extremist, don't watch it. Go about your little merry way. Do your thing. We'll do our thing. But if you come at us with force and you try to force us into silence, don't be surprised if we push back. It's called self-defense. It's like the common thug in the street. Remember, what was that called? The knockdown game, where this band of just thugs would go around, and for gang initiation, they would be, let's say some old lady or so old man or just a person standing at a bus stop waiting for a bus to come along, and they would walk along with their hands in their pockets and just out of nowhere would sucker punch them in the back of the head, and they would fall down and it's called the knockout or knockdown game or something like that. It would be like that guy knocking out an old lady and then complaining that he bruised his fist and trying to press charges against the old lady because his fist was broken or bruised. That's how ludicrous this is right here. Or like, let's say you're walking through the park with your girlfriend and two guys jump you, and you and your girlfriend are martial artists and Brazilian jiu-jitsu, experts, and you take them down and take them out, and they complain that you hurt them. You have no right, you have no standing to complain if you were the initiation of force, if you were the aggressor. If you initiated unjust force on peaceful people who just wanted to be left alone and you got hurt in the process, don't come running to me. There's no sympathy for that injustice. Justice demands that you get taken down. Or the rapist who didn't know that the lady that he was about to rape had a subcompact in her purse and blew his kneecap off. And then he complains and sues her because he got hurt. He wouldn't have got hurt if he didn't try to rape her. That's what these people are like. It says leave us alone and we won't push back. But when we push back, don't complain. You stir a hornet's nest and you're standing there confused. I don't know why I got 27 bee stings on my behind. I just tapped the thing with the stick. Well, there you go, genius. The employee recalls, let's see, the founders knew that they had to keep viewers because, as Wayne noted in 2019 interview, if they wanted to, quote, compete with the Twitch on the same level and even take them down one day, DLive needs to match its scale. No, don't give any reasons. It's like we're free speech. If we grow, we grow. If we don't, we don't. We're for free speech, period. So that's this. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to leave the rest of this article in the chat room, and you guys can read it at your leisure. There you go. I just hit it with two links. That's the link to this Time Magazine article. There's quite a few paragraphs left, probably about 6 or 7 paragraphs left, but you get the general idea. Time Magazine is a mainstream source. Mainstream media can't stand independent media because they can't compete with it. They truly can't. Even with the uneven playing field, even with them with home field advantage, they can't compete with the likes of us. None of us is, like I constantly say, none of us is greater than all of us. We can literally take down the machine if we just unite on some basic principles. Don't initiate unjust force and violence of peaceful people who haven't done anything wrong. Don't think that you have a higher claim over the life and property than others. And do to others what you would want done to you, and don't do to others what you wouldn't want done to you. Pretty simple. Rules everybody can live by. Guys, we already know that they want to decimate the dollar, destroy the economy, bring us into a cashless society, and eventually make it difficult for us to even get food. That's why I constantly promote My Patriot Supply. Every chance I get, I turn my fiat currency notes into long-term storable food. This stuff is awesome. It's got a 25-year shelf life. And one thing we're all going to need is storable food. It's better to have it, not need it, than need it, not have it. With my link in the description, you get $100 off of every order instantly. It'd be a good idea to order it while you can, because I'm not sure how much longer they're going to be able to ship this out. My link for your $100 off discount is in the description below.